Hey, welcome. It's a paranoid day in the neighborhood. A wonderful day for debunking. Would you be mine? Could you be mine? No masters, no gods in the neighborhood. A beautiful day for resistance. Would you be mine? Could you be mine? My comrade. I have always wanted a neighbor just like you to do all the things revolutionaries do. So, pulling back the curtain on this wonderful day, and since we're together, might as well say, would you be mine? Could you be mine? My comrade. Would you be mine? Could you be mine? My comrade. Hey folks, how's it going? Welcome at the long last to Mr. Williams' neighborhood, the anarchist parallel to Mr. Rogers' neighborhood. And of course, we come to you broadcasting this latest episode in great respect, not sponsored by, but at least in great respect of Won't You Be My Neighbor? The inside look at Mr. Rogers' neighborhood. But more importantly, the genius, the great influence and legend that is Mr. Fred Rogers, who, by the way, who was childhood friends with another great, Arnold Palmer, golf great. He was friends with him. Can you just imagine little Arnie Palmer and Fred, you know what I'm saying, and Freddie Rogers hanging around as kids? Probably, it was probably a really tripped out time. Certified fresh by Rotten Tomatoes, by the way. So, folks, you might have saw some papers that, you might have saw, well, at least you might have saw a folder. You might have saw some paperwork in there, may not. But I'm going to be dealing with some things because here's the thing of being a modern day anarchist in today's times, folks. Here's what it is. Let's level this thing out a little bit if we can here. But here's the thing. All right. Being a modern day anarchist means that you don't want government all in your lives. You don't seek government out. You don't try to leech off of the many things that the government has to offer to keep you in their sights, to keep you on their radar, to keep you, so to keep them in all of your information and your business. That's being a modern day anarchist today, working for yourself, being a self-starter, being out there trying to do things. Hey, you're gardening, you're trying to do those things to self-sustain in your own way as much as you can in this modern world. But also as a modern day anarchist, if you have a family especially, you have situations to where you can't just run away. You can try to be an outlaw anarchist and say, fuck the government and fuck their laws. I don't have to listen to you. I don't have to appear in your courtrooms, and you can bounce and fuck off somewhere. But if you have a family, you can't really do that. You can't really leave them in the lurch like that. So in this modern world, you have to handle your business. Folks, one of the greatest songs that I think I'll put it as one of the top 100 greatest songs. It has to be Know Your Enemy from Rage Against the Machine. It's a very, very profound statement. Know your enemy. What does that mean? That means, folks, you have to do research. Know your laws. Know these laws that are being enacted against you, because as in a modern society, unless you move somewhere way out where these laws can't touch you, guess what? You're going to be bound by those laws. You're out with your family in certain places, you're going to be bound by those laws. So the best thing that you can do to handle yourself as a modern day anarchist is to know those laws. Do not waste your money on lawyers. Do not waste your money on, do not waste your money on trying to buy your way out of the situation. Basically, keep your nose clean overall. Don't do a lot of dumb shit that they can link you up for. Move smoothly in whatever it is that you're doing. Don't allow them to fuck with you in that way. You'll be, I think, another DIY situation, folks, in the legal system, folks. If you're smart enough to go in there and handle your business and exact, for example, folks, let's take it over to our table here and see exactly what we're talking about. Okay, folks, what we have here is paperwork for an upcoming situation that I'm going to have to deal with. And what I'm dealing with, folks, is an alleged running of a stop sign. But as I'm showing you here, I have several pictures and evidence. That will prove beyond the shadow of a doubt that the allegations that were brought against me are without merit. And that's going to be the best way that you can handle any of your situations, folks. The main thing about a lawyer is the work that they put in. Okay. And also the licensing and having the ability to practice law and help someone else in their own case. But again, and the one thing that you have to know about the American justice system is that you are able to stand and represent yourself in your own case, because you're not defrauding yourself. You're not a lawyer, so you know that you don't have all the knowledge that a lawyer has. But the only thing you have to have is the knowledge of your case, the laws involving your case. That's all representing yourself entails. Being good enough on that day to handle your own case, not being good enough as a lawyer to handle many cases or to handle a workload that a lawyer or a public defender might have. It's simply being good enough and researched enough on your information and your situation to represent yourself and save yourself a ton of money. And being able to handle your own situation. Trust me, I could have. There were speeding tickets that I've had that I could have very easily had those lawyers. They sent me information. They send information all the time. We can help you. We can get you out of this. Blah 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 blah. I chose to forego all of that and go in there and represent myself, and came out successful. At least to a certain extent. I mean, of course, a couple game defective speedometer, but I mean, hey, it's better than a speeding ticket. It's better than having on your record that you were convicted of speeding. So when you weren't speeding. So basically, folks, it's one little DIY while we're here. We're going to keep things moving on. And in connection to going to the library, which I can definitely recommend, folks, if you just want to have a movie here that you haven't seen for a temporary amount of time. Don't want to have to pay for it. Maybe at some point you might want to buy it. Maybe you want to check it out and see how well it goes. Now, one that might go on my buy list pretty soon will be Overlord. Another movie that I also went to the library, my local library. Yes, still go to the local library, folks. I'm sorry. You get great DVDs there. Sometimes you even get, now there are audio books and everything. Like, I do understand that, folks, but I'm a person that still respects the library, because there are those people out there who do not have internet, do not have internet, not have a computer at home. They are not able to. They have a very simple phone. Are not able to put on audio books and things like that onto their phone. So they come to the library. They're able to learn how to use a computer. They're able to use a computer that's there. Fill out applications. They have 30-minute computers. And then they have computers the way you have about, I believe, 2 hours on the computer. they're trying to help. So libraries are still serving a purpose. Job training, computer training, things like that. They're giving a place to kids, a place for kids to go for free. They want to play video games. They want to be part of different, of different clubs and activities that they do at the library. At least in my area, that's what they're doing. I respect that, and they're trying to keep themselves relevant. They understand that there are the ebooks out there, the audio books and things of that nature, that a lot of things are being downloaded and things of this nature. But sometimes, you don't have the money to do all of that. And sometimes you go in there and you check out a nice little movie and take it right on back. Done and done. Now, let's talk about Overlord. This is a very, we're going to start getting into this now, folks, because we're going to start getting back into what I used to do, the reviews and certain topics and subjects and things of that nature, but doing it, of course, from an anarchist point of view. Okay? Because again, even though we have our neighborhood here, there is another neighborhood. There is the other neighborhoods outside of our neighborhood that we have to contend with, much like I was explaining with our legal system. Sometimes you can shield yourself in your own neighborhood out there, folks, and not have to worry about any of this. But if you're like myself and you have kids and they are part of the mainstream and you can't force, and again, me as an anarchist, I would never force my opinions onto them. I would never force my views onto them and force them to live in a way that would make them uncomfortable. So as of right now, until they get older and make choices for themselves, start to feel what they feel and hear what I'm saying and take in the lessons and move forward from there, that'll be on them. That'll be their choice. They're trying to make the better choices. They're trying to make good choices. They're trying to see their way through. They understand some of the things that I'm saying. Certain things you have to take control of, like with the GMO foods and things of that nature. You have to take control a little bit more on that one because it's for their safety. So I can't just simply say you have to make a choice, or you can make a choice between. But it's like, because when you know that there are GMOs in these foods by these companies who make these products, and they're not labeling them for some reason, they're not telling you and being upfront that they have these genetically engineered products that they're providing you, it's not saying a lot of great things about their overall agenda, let's say. So by the way, so basically we get back to talking about Overlord. So again, now let's just start with what was heard in the situation. People said, okay, it's disappointing and things of that nature. It was disappointing, blah, blah, blah. Oh, I just didn't really, it wasn't really all of that. Now, a lot of, but the response overall, but the truth is, once you get past all of that, all of those little stray chatter and things of that nature, you start to see that Rotten Tomatoes thought well of it, that IMDb thought well of it, that a lot of different places it was critically and mainstream. They thought pretty well of the movie. Now, here's what I think. Now, somebody made a very good point. Now, I will say, I will get done with this and then I'll go through my personal review of this. But I guess, let me see, should we do this? See, I'm going to start trying to do these things, but we'll try here. Okay. Now basically, one person made a great point of saying that, what about dealing with the aspect of racism, especially at that time of World War II? Why aren't we dealing with that? Why are we because it is a mixture. It's sort of like, it's definitely not in the way of Django, because in Django, you have to That is the issue of the day, is racism, because slavery is alive and well at this point. So it's a situation where you have to deal with those issues and those ramifications and the feelings and the emotions and the of what that was. Now, Overlord, we're talking about World War II. Now there is still racism and things like this, but it was a little bit more, it was becoming a little bit more sinister and sneaky and underlying, and it played into certain ways. And especially in a time of war, it fell back a bit because we needed troops. We need people to go out there who are willing to fight and risk their lives out there for the greater good, supposedly. So this is what we have. So you can't now speak to people in any kind of way and I think they're still going to go out there and fight. But there were some people who were convinced. There were some, and of course at World War II at this time there were only men that were going out there to fight. That is just a fact. So with that situation, you have a lot of black men, a lot of African American black men, however you want to look at that, stolen African men who were trying to prove themselves, who felt as if, hey, if I'm sure that I'm willing to go out here and fight and prove myself and be a hero and help, bring this win home for the allied forces, it would be, they'll look at me differently. They'll see me as an American. They'll see me as one of them. Finally. And that's all I ever really wanted. They'll see me as one of them. But the reality, to cover and respond to that person's point, of course, the reality isn't quite that way. The reality after the Allied forces won World War II is that I mean, it's, you think it gets easier, it gets more fluent to say these things. But the truth of the matter is it doesn't. When you think about the fact that African American men who contributed to the victory for the Allied forces, that these men were treated worse than prisoners of war, these German Nazi scumbags, ridiculous, experimenting, just tormenting, just evil, creepy individuals are being treated better than the soldiers who fought, risked their lives. One helped you win, and they're being treated as if, they're not even on your side after the war is done, because now you've done what they needed you to do. So now we can go back to acting like you don't really matter to us. Years later, decades later, president after president after president, but yet it takes so long for these men to get recognition for their time. Just ridiculous. So no one really wants to deal with that, because it becomes more of a period piece. It becomes more of a just over dramatic, just really angry. It can be anger building, sad, really too emotional. There's going to be some of that there. I mean, just take a look at certain points when you look at the movie and take it for what it is, folks. You had Bokeem Woodbine, who was leading the troops. Take it as what it is, man. You can see it for what it is. Now, they played into certain things and made you think, oh, here we go again. Because Bokeem Woodbine, a very, very, he's a gritty actor. He's someone who I felt like, for our culture, for me, growing up, when I think about Strapped, When I think about, when I think about Caught Up and things like that, Bokeem Woodbine, along with other movies, he was in a movie with Jennifer Lawrence, by the way. Look it up. If my memory serves me correctly, I would love to get the name of that movie if I could. But is that The Life Inside Me? No, that can't be. Okay, maybe not. I'm not sure. But Bokeem Woodbine was in a movie with Jennifer Lawrence. Look it up. Question everything, folks. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But I do believe that I've seen some footage that let me know that Jennifer Lawrence and Bokeem Woodbine was in a movie together. Now, of course, he may have been playing a stereotypical character in that movie, but in a movie with Jennifer Lawrence, nonetheless. Anyway, he was in this movie, big budget movie. Even though, they put him in the movie for that gritty veteran, one more black guy feel, but he was killed very early on. Now, granted, a lot of soldiers getting ready to drop into, oh, by the way, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, folks. Love that place. I do recommend. But anyway, a lot of those guys, as they were being attacked right from the plane, were getting killed. But he managed to make it down to the ground to be riddled with bullets by those German scumbags who spit at him after. You got to love the whole scene with creative license. Now, this is where we get into the movie, and I'll let you know that, yes, they're dealing with some realism here with it being World War II. And they're dealing with some creative license, being, with science fiction and the possible experimenting that a lot of us in our circles, that a lot of us in the same circles, we've heard about the experimenting, the supposed experimenting, the supposed super soldiers, superhumans, things of that nature. Who knows? Well, we feel like we do know. And by the way, I do want to say one more time before we move forward that Operation Paperclip is another very, very stark reason to why they were being treated that way. America, of course, being complicit, IBM complicit in the record keeping of the Nazi Party. This is an American corporation that was lending its equipment to the Nazi Party in order to keep record of the people, the categories of people, and the numbers of people they were killing. So be it Jewish, Black, French, gay, they're just categorizing who they were taking out and how many they were able to take out. So that's an American company. And so America was complicit in a lot of what the Nazi Party was doing, which is why I think the pressure was on for them to try to come back and what they normally do. This is America. America has had a history of glad handing at one moment. They're glad hand with you at one moment. And then the next moment, they're coming back after you because you're the villain. Because now you're the villain, even though they helped you in becoming the villain that you are. But now that you are that villain, now the world stage is looking at them, and now they have to take you out as now you're the villain, of course. But you helped. No, not really. Corporations didn't know what they were doing. We'll say things, but Operation Paperclip allowed for some of those Nazi monsters to change their identities, live in America in the best of places, have the best of things, and be able to live a life, a world away from their crimes, their misdeeds, never facing any punishment, but instead almost get a reward for what they've done. So you got to take all of that, folks, and that's a whole nother movie that we have to jump into. That's a whole nother movie that I guess has yet to be made. We've been willing over the years now to try to say, okay, we'll do a movie about the attempt on Hitler's life. We'll do a movie about certain things involving the Nazi Party. We'll allow for the Nazi Party to make fun because the Jewish love that. So they'll love that. But what about let's see if someone is willing to go to a company that happens to be run by a Jewish person or people and say, are you willing to tell the story of Operation Paperclip? Are you willing to tell the story that shows that America is complicit in allowing some of those Nazi monsters that tortured and defamed and murdered your ancestors to live a life in America unbothered by any of this? Are they willing to allow that movie to happen? Will they green like that? But that's another conversation possibly for another day or maybe later on in this show. But for right now, we want to get into the fun and the mix of sci-fi, horror, and action adventure and period piece that is Overlord. And yes, it was fun. So when you seen the scene from the start, fun. You get right into the what I know must have been just nerve wracking. You get a glimpse of the trauma, having to sit in the bush, having to sit in a bush, hiding out while feeling powerless, while one of your fellow soldiers is brutally gunned down or tortured and have fun with, because there's so many of them and only one or two of you, that it would just be pretty much suicide to go running out there and trying to save and maybe save a little pride within yourself. Walking along, you're talking to someone, you're feeling a little bit of relief at that point, and then person don't realize they stepped on a landmine. They're just completely obliterated. I mean, it's just wow. So a lot of that shit in itself is horrible. So then when you start to get into the actual horror of the situation, the serum that's being used to create these superhuman people that seem to heal at an exponential rate, that really seem to have an extreme amount of strength. Extreme. I mean, that's about the way to put it. An extreme amount of strength. I guess the more type of serum, and they're always working, of course, on working on improving it and seeing what they can do to up the levels, make it better, make it work faster, make it work longer, whatever. So it becomes, you get into all of that. And yes, a lot of the situation, a lot of what goes on is horrible. I mean, it's action, but it's horror. I mean, it's gory. There are point. I mean, folks, it is quite a mixture of genres in this one movie, and it worked. But I think the thing that people wanted to get around in sort of in different ways is the fact that they worked in Wyatt Russell, son of Kurt Russell. You've seen him in 22 Jump Street. You've seen him at Lodge 49. I believe I'm saying the name correctly. Excuse me, but he's definitely coming along in his own way. But if you look his own way, but I guess it's the Russell way, because if you look back on Overboard and certain things, Tango and Cash, there were certain points he wasn't always the serious badass that he was in Escape from New York, Escape from LA. It was like sprinkled here and there, Soldier and things like that. It was sprinkled here and there. He would do things like Tango and Cash, Bird on a Wire, and it was still action and fun and Overboard. You know what I'm saying? But it's just like he could be different things. He could be a guy that could be a badass, intense action star, like in The Thing and that type of situation. But he could be funny. He could be, he could be, very loose, very, it's just, he has that multitude into his personality. And I think that Wyatt wants to display that as well. I think he does that. I think in 22 Jump Street, he was able to really bring you that. Lodge 49. I think he definitely gave you a great, I think he definitely gave you that great experienced, gristled leader, soldier type guy that he was in Overlord. He definitely gave you that. And I definitely think while they said, you can see the underlying racism that's there. You wouldn't question the big Sarge there, Bokeem Woodbine, but he gets taken out immediately. Other black guy taken out with the landmine. So now the one black guy who's a main character here that's left, people feel like he's constantly being questioned. He's constantly being questioned, for his ability to be a soldier. Can he cut it? Can he make it? How, how long will it be before he's taken out? Things of this nature. So there's an underlying, you could say it's about, it's about him. It's not about his race. Maybe not. Okay. There's definitely some truths that are there. I definitely think that underlying part is what is. Let's question this guy. There are a lot of guys who got taken out. There were a lot of guys who didn't make it. There were a lot of guys, who got caught up in different ways. They weren't constantly being questioned. They weren't constantly being looked at. Okay, they were weak. They got stupid. So how could they fuck up like this? How can an experienced guy who we know's been here and we know we can trust, how's he fucking up? But staying on this guy. So you have to see the undertone that's there and how eventually he was able to use his brain. He was able to show, you know what? Maybe I'm not the pop, pop, shoot him up, get him all down guy like Wyatt Russell's character was. But he used his brain. He kept his heart about him. He kept his wits about him, and he knew what he had to do and made it happen. And you say you're disappointed by it, still leaves, opening that, maybe somebody, I don't want to ruin it. But a case has been here, you might want to skip over this if you don't want to have it spoiled. But you say disappointing. I don't say disappointing. And when he stopped them, he completely leveled that facility to where they couldn't come back up, possibly, and wouldn't tell his superiors about it in the military, because there's a good chance that they might find that technology and try to use it on somebody in our home. And with our soldiers, some guys who died honorably, they're now going to possibly resurrect to try to keep being soldiers that won't die, soldiers that, yeah, okay. Bullshit. No. So you're disappointed? I'm not. I agree with it. And by the way, I'm not disappointed by the ending at all. I love the ending all the way down to Nas and his father, the collaboration with his father being the closing song for this movie, because it puts this guy as the guy who survives, this guy as the guy who is the lead character. They hated that. They hated that this French girl and her little, her little brother, were the other main characters that managed to make it out and survive. And maybe, I believe, the little Italian guy, also, oh yeah, not the good old blonde hair, blue eye, whatever, not that. No, he doesn't make it. No, the other guy, they don't make it. This is the cast of characters that actually survives this whole thing. No, I'm disappointed. Check your racism, dude. Maybe you should have saw, because I always know that. I always know that when you have a big budget movie like this, that's going to promise a lot. That's going to promise a lot of, a lot of big budget, a lot of big. Now, by the way, folks, I want to also tell you, it had a $38 million budget. Okay. Overall, it made a few $1 million over that mark. So again, it not a disappointment by any means. To break even in some respects is still a very solid effort for the effort that was made, for what was being tried here. To try out, these people that a lot of people didn't know, to only know Wyatt Russell from a couple of movies here, that, and to have all of this, to have the chances that were taken, and to have the movie work out the way it did, I gotta give it up. Much respect. But I always know that when it comes to a movie where you have a lead character that is either black, is either African American or female or both, African American female, African American male, and white female or black female, doesn't, you know what I'm saying? Most times females and African Americans, it's just like, that's the issue with Star Wars. That's why people wanted to boycott Star Wars, because an African American and a female were going to be the lead characters of this installment of the Star Wars series. Wow. And they were going to boycott Star Wars, not realizing, I guess, that George Lucas is married to a black woman. Has been for a long time. That was running a lot of his stuff. It is what it is. But let's see. Hold on, folks. Let's see if we can do some happy music. Happy music here. Let's see. I kind of like this one. Let's see how we do with this one. Welcome back from that little music break there, Stride Across the Sahara, that is called. Kind of like experimenting with these little royalty free songs there. Kind of awesome. But to kind of close out on my review, I really like the movie from start to finish. I always know, once again, that there's always going to be a little bit of coded language when it comes to people's overall reviews, and scattered whispers about certain movies where you have a African American and female lead. But there's, like I said, again, you have the truth of the World War II, the Allied forces. You also have the hatred that the French had of the Nazi Party in Germany. They wanted them killed too. So, I mean, it's just, you definitely have a lot of truths that are there. And it was definitely a great movie. You definitely seen that it didn't always have to be. But I think some of the time though, I think it's sort of like it sort of kind of comes back once again, like sort of what we're dealing with now when it comes to even pro wrestling. There's still a racial issue when it comes to even the over the top world of pro wrestling. There's still a racial issue. And sometimes I think black guys should be badass. We shouldn't always have to be the guy, sort of out of place, scared, worried. We should be a little badass. We could be a little badass. Sometimes the badass doesn't always have to be in the way of we're tough, we're willing to fight, we're willing to act defiant on everything. But sometimes it's about being willing to stand up and say, hey, you know what? I'm gonna help them. She's the, what I'm saying? We're the reason why they have her little brother. You know what I'm saying? We need to go and help them. So regardless of what you want to say, he doesn't seem like a badass. He doesn't have the build or physique of a badass. But he stood up and he said, "This, I'm going to go and do this. I know how to get this done. I know how to complete our mission and take them down, but also go and get her brother and go and get this whole thing taken care of." Awesome movie, man. I highly recommend it. This is definitely going to be on my list as a purchase. That will be part of the extensive collection that I have. And in case this is my neighborhood, folks, and in case you haven't seen it, really quick here, folks. But in case you haven't seen it, please check out. This is, and I'm sure, there we go. We got two shelves here, as you can see. We got two shelves of, now the top shelf you see right there. Now that is my personal awesome section there. Now all of those movies there that you see, as best you can, are fucking awesome. Okay. Now, how do you believe that they're so awesome? Okay, challenge accepted. Deadpool, Blade Runner, Final Cut, League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. Just so you know, The Secret Life of Walter Mitty by the great fucking Ben Stiller. Scott Pilgrim versus the World, The Never Ending Story Part 1 and 2. Okay, The Professional, Leon the Professional, The Wraith, Rounders, Tomorrowland, Watchmen. Okay, I can keep going. The Princess Bride, what I'm saying? Smoking Aces. Okay, Fight Club, 12 Monkeys, The Jackal, Once Upon a Time in Mexico. We can keep going. Under Siege 2, Dog Territory. Lady in the Water, the Star Trek redos. I like those. I did enjoy those. Sherlock Holmes, Cyborg, Death Warrant, Double Impact. I like Double Impact. I don't give a fuck what you say. Assassins, Cobra, The Specialist, Ronin, The Usual Suspects. Okay, Bloodsport. I mean, we can just keep on going here, folks. And we haven't even gotten into the martial arts section. Okay, the classics that are in here, like The Last Dragon, by the way. Okay, the 5 Venoms versus Wu-Tang. Okay, 5 Element Kung Fu, the 5 Deadly Venoms.